So with everything that's happened this year, I've actually found myself relying on Linux more than ever right now. Like, I've switched to Linux like almost a couple years ago, and I've gained a lot of knowledge since then about Linux, and I've gotten pretty accustomed to it. So at this point, I think it would be pretty hard for me to switch back to Windows. So with that in mind, I had a thought. What if I just switched back to Windows for a day? I know it'd probably be painful, but to what extent? Like, what Linux features have I gotten so used to that the average Windows user would consider to be cutting edge that these days I don't even think twice about? So with that being said, I'll jump right into this video and start documenting my experience of my day using Windows. Alright, so now it is 7:34 a.m. My computer is powered off and plugged in to prevent it from running out of power during the installation process. And I've got my Windows installation media right there, and I'm ready to install Windows. So I've just got one thing to mention before I begin. I don't have an external screen capture device, so on the initial screens of my experience, I'll just be recording the screen with the camera up until I get screen recording software installed and I can do screen capture. But anyway, let's get my Windows installation media plugged in, power on my computer, and press the boot menu key really quick. Now let's boot from our Windows installation media. Alright, so now the Windows setup has loaded, so I'm gonna click next and install now. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go wait for this setup to start. Alright, so now I get to the EULA. Now this is actually the first time in a while I've seen a EULA in the installation process of an operating system. So this is actually kind of a change for me. But anyway, I'm gonna accept the license terms, hit next. Now I'm gonna do a custom install Windows only since I had Linux on this before. I'm gonna go delete both my partitions. I have my data backed up, and the rule is I have to use Windows for a day, no cheating, no Linux partitions. But anyway, I'm gonna go delete both of these partitions real quick, and that should create unallocated space. I'm gonna create a new partition, fill up the entire drive with it. Yeah, I understand that. Okay, so now I'm gonna go install Windows on this partition. Okay, so now it didn't go through the full setup procedure, i.e. letting me choose a product key or a version of Windows if I didn't have a product key, because this computer came with Windows pre-installed, so these settings are predetermined by the manufacturer. Now I'm getting Windows 10 Home, which again was pre-installed on my computer. But anyway, I am gonna skip past this installation process since it's not very convenient to hold up my camera for the entire installation process, just so that way you can watch it in fast motion. Alright, so now it's just about to restart the computer. I know it's done the initial part of the installation process, and now it's actually got to go do extra stuff after this. By the way, in case you didn't notice, when you get to the partitioner, you can see that Windows is actually slightly harder to install than a beginner-friendly version of Linux. If you remember the Ubuntu installer and the installers of a lot of other Linux distros for that matter, they have a guided partitioner that let you erase the disk or even install it on a dual boot. The Windows installations partitioner is kind of the equivalent to just getting an advanced partitioner, so that's kind of disappointing. That's one area where Linux is ahead of Windows. Now, after it gets ready and I get this all set up, we'll see what other areas Linux is ahead of Windows. In fact, we might see some of those areas during the setup process. Alright, so now it's just about to boot into the setup process, so we're about to see how this goes. Oh god, this thing is very annoying, so I'm gonna go mute you. Oh god, this is already slowing me down. Yes, let's dig in. Okay, finally you get to the actual setup process. It's gonna ask me for my country. Moving this mouse on this trackpad feels painful on Windows, but anyway, I'm actually in Canada, so let's select that country. Yes, and yes, I use the US keyboard. Let's not add a second layout because I don't need it. Okay, I'm gonna go connect to my network real quick. Okay, it's connected to the Wi-Fi network. So I'm gonna hit next. Oh god, what important setup do you have to do? Remember how the Linux installation process is, where you just do the installation and maybe do a few things after installation and you're done? This setup process just slows the whole experience down. And actually, now that I think about it, the Windows installer actually feels very dated, especially when compared compared to the rest of Windows 10 and Linux installers. I know not a lot of people are going to be looking at it, but still, that is a disappointment. But anyway, now it actually wants me to go out of Microsoft account. It doesn't give me an option to just not use a Microsoft account. But I don't want to use a Microsoft account. Let's learn more. Just go blah, 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 blah. If you prefer not to have a Microsoft account associated with your device, you can remove it. Finish going through Windows Setup, then go to Settings, Accounts, Your Info, and then select Sign in with a local account instead. Well, it appears I must set up a Microsoft account. So now I'm just going to use a completely fake email, since I'm just going to be abandoning this Microsoft account after I'm done because I really don't need it. Again, this is really just for the day. Plus, I actually want to remove this. I actually forgot to click get a new one, but thankfully it did get the email that I wanted. So let's click next. Password is required. I don't think that really matters, but I'm going to uncheck this anyway. This is also another disappointment. Windows Setup actually requires you to create an online Microsoft account when you're connected to the internet. On Linux, no accounts required. I'm just going to use a wimpy password since, again, I'm going to be abandoning this right after the setup process. So hit next, and I keep hitting next. There we go. I have to click next a bunch of times. You know what? I'm just gonna choose a random day. What the? Wow. Did you just see that? But anyway, I'm gonna go choose the year. Oh god, this is so slow. You know what? I'll just put like in the 90s. This is a completely fake birth date, by the way. This is not actually my real birth date. I just don't feel like giving them a real birth date. Besides, how are they going to discover that I actually lied about my age since I'm going to be abandoning this Microsoft account before this video is even published? Create a pin? Do I have to create a pin? Oh god. Honestly, it's starting to feel like it's forcing every big new Windows thing on me that I don't like. I'm going to include letters and symbols. I really don't see how having a pin is more secure than just a regular password, but okay, I'll just make it the same as my Microsoft account password. There's a lot of just a moments here. Oh god. So much extra stuff to do. Gotta not use online speech recognition and accept that. No, gotta turn all the stuff off. Why should I have to go through this? Just to preserve some of my privacy, which I have a basic right to. As you can see there, I have to send at least some basic diagnostic data, so some of the stuff isn't even optional. And to make matters worse, this is just the stuff that Microsoft is telling us about. I kinda don't understand why so many people still trust Windows with all this data collection. Finally, an extra Windows gimmick that I can choose to not bother with. Not now. I actually don't like Cortana or really any other speech recognition service for that matter. I find a lot of the time it just gets the stuff that you say wrong. Oh god, this brings back awful memories. Why should you have to wait several minutes just to sign into your freaking account for the first time? On Linux, you just make an account or finish the install. If it's a first time install, then you just log in and then you're done. It takes all of 2 seconds. But anyway, after this process that takes forever for no apparent reason, I'll come right back. Okay, the good news is that it didn't take much longer, so that's fortunate. Bad news is it's giving me all these notifications. Browse the web with Microsoft Edge. Maybe later. Default browser was reset. Yeah, and I don't like how the notification bar is constantly showing you got like 1 or 2 new notifications or however many new notifications you have. It is distracting. And you gotta go click on it, which is kind of a delay between when you click on it and when the notification bar actually opens. A lot of times when I use this, it feels modern and ancient at the same time. I'm gonna remove this. Yeah, move that here to the recycle bin and empty out the recycle bin. I got all this junk on my taskbar and the search bar. I'm gonna go to my start menu real quick. As you can see, so much stuff just gets installed automatically. I have to go and remove all this stuff. But anyway, let's see what other stuff comes with Windows. Really, I can't do trackpad scrolling. I have to click on the scroll bar. By the way, I know a lot of you are going to be saying that the screen recorder is actually built into the Xbox game bar, but if I try it says I can't record the Windows desktop with it, so you're still going to have to watch footage through the camera. Anyway, for now, I'm going to go through the process of removing all this bloatware, or at least whatever I can, because a lot of it is non-removable. I have to right click on each unwanted application individually, then click uninstall, then uninstall again. Very inefficient process. Feels like they made this process intentionally slow so that way you just keep all this junk on your computer. Anyway, I'll come back after I finish doing this. Windows comes with so much junk, especially when compared to other operating systems. It's just a nightmare. Already, I want to go back to Linux. Oh, good, it also got my time wrong. And by the way, I think it's around like 8 a.m. Haven't even been using this for an hour, and already I want to go back to Linux. But the rule is I have to keep using this for a day. So anyway, I'm gonna go remove this bloatware, and I'll be right back. Alright, so now I've got all the bloatware that I can remove removed. I like to keep nothing pinned to the start menu. I just like this list. That's what I'm used to on Linux. Now I did keep some software that they'll let you remove, like Calculator, because that's actually useful. Now you may be questioning why I kept Mixed Reality Portal, because it's something I want to take a look at later today. And the rest of the bloatware I could not remove. It just feels like I have to have this software installed anyway, even though I don't use it, just because Microsoft says so. At this point, it's starting to feel like Microsoft's the one controlling my computer instead of me, which makes me want to go back to Linux even more. In fact, with all this control that Microsoft is asserting over people's PCs, I'm starting to wonder why they're even allowed to have their operating system pre-installed on 99.9% of computers. Well, it is actually the operating system that most people use, and I have no idea why. Oh my god, this is very obnoxious. Anyway, I do want to actually do stuff about this taskbar because I am not used to it. I don't like it. I at least want to remove that search box. I do not know why that has to take up all the space when you could just have a button. But anyway, one thing I do want to show you, like since I'm on a laptop, use a trackpad, like it's very easy to accidentally trigger tap to click. Like I'll show you, like that. I did not accidentally trigger it. It's really hard to show, but still, I didn't do a forced click. I prefer to turn tap to click off because the only time when I ever trigger tap to click is when I do it accidentally. I actually don't know how to disable it in Windows. Linux and macOS, oh, you could disable that pretty easily. Windows, you probably have to go into the registry or something. I actually find that like triggering tap to click is just so easy, which is actually a security risk when you think about it, because you could accidentally click on some piece of malware when you don't intend to, and then it goes and messes up your system. I'm sorry, but whoever at Microsoft decided it was a good idea to force every single Windows user to have tap to click on, whether or not they like it, must be mentally handicapped or something. If you're watching this video, I'm sorry if I've offended you, but it's just a really dumb decision. Nonetheless, using the touchpad does actually feel painful. It feels like I need to like work to right click, and it's also pretty easy to trigger a right click without intending to. It's probably just that I'm used to Linux, which is actually, at least in my opinion, more intelligent in the way that it handles trackpads, but still. But anyway, enough talk. I've got to go get screen recording software installed because I am starting to get tired of holding this camera. Unfortunately, that's going to prove a challenge since Simple Screen Recorder, which is the screen recorder that I use, is only available for Linux. So can't run that on Windows. I know this is not Windows' fault, but it would make it hard for me to switch back to Windows. Fortunately, one piece of open source screen recording software that is available for Windows is called OBS Studio. Now, I know this is probably overkill for my use case, but it'll get the job done. So I'm going to go install this for Windows. Oh, and good, it doesn't even give you a prompt, it just automatically downloads something. Yeah, that's good. When someone visits a malicious webpage, don't ask the user first, just automatically download that whatever piece of malware it gives you. It's fine. It's not like it's a security risk. But anyway, let's actually open this file, which I know is safe. Yes, you can make changes to my computer. Okay, so now let's go back to this legacy package management system. Like, I just hate Windows package management. It just feels old. Are you kidding me? 10 components? Oh god. Yes, we need to install them. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to run this installer. Hopefully that doesn't give me any issues. I'm gonna agree to the license terms and conditions and go ahead and click install. That's the thing, on Linux, for comparison's sake, I would have actually had OBS Studio already installed and launched by now, and I haven't even started the actual OBS Studio installation process. Luckily, this did not take too long, surprisingly. But anyway, let's actually go back up to my downloads. Let's open this back up. Yes, again, let OBS Studio make changes to my computer, then click next. This is actually open source software under the GPL, in case you haven't noticed. Nothing in the rules about that, but with Windows users being so used to paying for everything and everything being closed source, stuff like this is pure gold around here. Like, any piece of open source software will probably become one of my favorite Windows applications pretty quickly. Okay, I'm gonna install it. Why do I even have to choose a folder to install it? Like, as you can see, it just gives you like a yes prompt to escalate privileges, which you can easily click without doing anything. On Linux, you have to punch in your password, so you're the decider. So a piece of malware can't just automatically go click yes. But anyway, was actually quick, so I'm gonna go launch into OBS Studio and close out Microsoft Edge. And I'm actually gonna optimize this for recording since I will not be streaming. In fact, this is just for the day. Canvas resolution 1366, yep. I actually tend to record in 30 FPS. Hit next. Okay, and now I'll get this all set up and I'll be back hopefully with a screen record after I'm done that. Alright, so now hopefully this is the last camera shot of the day, or at least of the experience, but when I woke this up from sleep mode, it did show the lock screen for a bit, then it just flickered white, and now it's just showing a white screen with my cursor, and I can do nothing, which I guess Windows has kinda had a crash or something. Yeah, that's unfortunate. A properly coded piece of software shouldn't do this. Alright, so now I've got OBS Studio set up and we are on a direct feed via screen capture. It is working. So starting now I can present to you a great experience. So now first order of business, what I actually should have done right after the setup process is go to settings, accounts, then switch back to a local account. It did actually give me this weird username since I did give it a weird email, so that's actually kind of my fault. Still, it should have let me sign in with a local account and pick my username rather than force me to sign up with a Microsoft account. You know what, I'm gonna make the username Drew, same as my Linux username, and I'm just actually gonna use the password I normally use since this is local. Seriously, I need a password hint. You know what, I'm just gonna make it a space. Anyway, I'm gonna have to sign out and finish, so this will cut my screen record. Alright, so now I had a little recording error there, so I ended up with a corrupted video file, so that's why I didn't see that last part after I set up a local account. But what I did is I installed Firefox and switched over to the dark mode, and also changed my wallpaper. And I have also got Firefox configured with my default settings. And by the way, did you see how slow that opened? Like on Linux, it opens up a lot faster. Like using this OS does feel sluggish. But anyway, I've got this configured with the settings I like. I haven't actually signed into a Firefox account yet. But anyway, one thing you'll notice is if you go into settings, personalization, start, I've actually had to disable show suggestions occasionally in start just to have it not advertised to me. Which, why should you have ads appear in your start menu? And I just went into the touchpad settings and I could not figure out how to get the trackpad scrolling working. So I'm gonna have to continue to use this old-fashioned scroll bar. But anyway, I actually forgot to uninstall this. So now what I'm gonna do is get Shutup 10 installed, just to disable some telemetry settings. Let's download that. I'm planning on going over that in a future video. But anyway, we just open this up, and no need to install it, just opens. So now, I'm gonna enable all the recommended settings. Yeah, let's create a system restore point, just in case. Okay, so now, those are enabled. I'll just close out of this application. We don't need to restart. And actually, speaking of security, I need to get an antivirus installed. When I was on Windows, I used to use this antivirus called Panda Dome. And I got the free antivirus. Probably not the best protection, but it worked for what I needed. So I'm gonna go download that, and I'll just get the free download and download that right now. This does actually bring back one memory of having to deal with its ads trying to get me to upgrade to the paid version of the antivirus. Now that I'm on Linux and I don't need an antivirus, I don't need to deal with this. But anyway, I'm just gonna get this installed. Now I can close out this. We don't need to look at any ads. But anyway, I'm gonna hit next, accept and install. And do not install the Opera browser for free. Just dodged a bloatware bullet right there, but anyway, hit next. Now, didn't actually used to do this back when I was using it, which was actually almost 2 years ago now. But anyway, let's let that process go and I'll come right back. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm going to open this up now. And of course, it's going to go open up an ad to get me to upgrade to their paid version. So what I got to do is sign into my Panda account. Luckily, I made a Panda account when I was using this. It was drew.netlive.com, back when I had a Microsoft account. Hopefully that's not required. Okay, now it's protecting my PC. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, is that you need an antivirus when using Windows. If you're not willing to pay for an antivirus and you just need something that'll protect you just as a last line of defense, I'd say that is a good option if you're willing to deal with the ads that get you to upgrade to the paid version if you still use Windows. Or even better, just switch to Linux, since I don't even know how you deal with this. Like, yeah, you gotta be a pretty patient man to install applications. And actually, speaking of installing applications, let's go check out the Microsoft Store. Oh wow, looks very different from the Linux package managers. Oh really? Can I actually play this game? How much do I have to pay? Yep. Welcome to proprietary technology, paid apps. It's actually very rare to get a paid app on Linux. They definitely do exist, but they're definitely the minority, not the majority. Anyway, what do I want? How about YouTube? Do they have a YouTube app? Oh, they do give me YouTube downloaders. Okay, let's actually get out of that before I get a community guideline strike on this video for showcasing a YouTube downloader. Or actually, one Windows game I used to enjoy back when I was using Windows almost 2 years ago is the Microsoft Solitaire collection, which actually, you might be surprised I actually still have it on my phone, believe it or not. It's not available for Linux, so I just use the pre-installed Solitaire app. Oh, it is already installed. Or how about, since Flowblade isn't available on Windows. No, this is not Windows' fault, but still. I'm gonna go look for a video editor. Alright, let's look through these editors. Wow, they have a lot of crappy options. You cannot find a good one just by looking on the Windows Store. You have to actually go out of your way to find it, which can be dangerous. Though, I do want to get VLC for Windows, just to at least have a better video player. This is what I use on Linux. In fact, it comes with my Linux distribution, which is convenient. Oh, really? I need to sign in? Oh god. I guess no Microsoft Store if you don't use a Microsoft account. That's a thing. On Linux, you can just like open up the software center and click install. No account required. But anyway, let's actually get updates. Oh god, this is taking forever. You know what, while I'm waiting for this, let's actually try out Mixed Reality Portal. That's an application that I was actually interested in. Wait, you installed it anyway? Okay, I'm confused now. I guess they did. Welcome to Windows Mixed Reality. Get started. Let's get set up. I agree to whatever the heck this is. It's gonna go check my compatibility. Oh, but you need a headset, which doesn't come with any PC. Well, that is kind of frustrating. You just got home with your new PC, and already in the box there's something you can't use. Like, how freaking annoying is that? Which then you have to get a headset, which is another investment. Like, you haven't already spent enough money on this thing. Oh, and that's assuming that you got a good enough computer to handle it. If your computer's too low end, too bad. So sad. Oh my god, all of these constant notifications. Luckily though, they do have a feature called Focus Assist, which I'm actually going to go enable right now. Okay, priority only. Anyway, let's actually try this out with another app. Say you watch Netflix. Let's actually install it to sign in. Oh, so it will actually download while you wait for all these updates that are taking forever. Let's actually go look at Windows updates since we have to install updates anyway. Oh god, this takes forever to load. And install these now. Oh my god, so many updates requiring restarts. Where I come from in the tech community, the only updates that require restarts are kernel updates. And FYI, you're not forced to restart against your will. Okay, can I actually schedule this restart? Like, how in the world do you wade through something like this just to get to schedule the restart? Oh good, it just crashed. Like, I pity people that have to use this with all the issues that they have to go through. Okay, I can actually go change my active hours. So I guess you have somewhat control over your updates, but not completely. And actually, by the way, one thing I forgot to do while I'm waiting for this to load is change my clock to the right time zone. I'm gonna go synchronize the clock. Okay, it's in Pacific time. I'm actually in Eastern time, which is UTC -5. There we go. Now I got the right time. Let's go back into the Microsoft Store. Okay, I guess it's done. Well, this update's still taking a while. So now, while I'm waiting for this update, let me see if I can actually go restore from my backup on this. And by the way, definitely say goodbye to Linux encrypted drives, encrypted 7Z files, or any sort of encrypted thing besides BitLocker if you're using Windows 10 Pro. If you're using Windows 10 Home, don't expect to be able to use that either, because Windows is actually not that secure. Like, I'd basically not be able to access my backup right now if it weren't for the fact that there's a Windows application called 7Z which can read encrypted 7Z files. So let's actually extract this. I'm gonna go put this at the root of my user folder and go and extract that. That was actually pretty quick considering that it's 1 gigabyte. And look at that, there's all my files that are in my downloads folder. Let's actually go back to my user folder. And obviously this would go into the app data folder. which is actually hidden. So I'm going to show that. And I'm also going to show file name extensions, just that way you can see what type of file it is. You should always have this enabled. In fact, I believe other operating systems like Mac and Linux will force you to have it enabled. So I don't know why Windows doesn't have it enabled by default. But anyway, I actually want to see how this flash drive will show up in disk management. Connecting to virtual disk service. Man, this looks like it just came straight out of the Windows 95 era. Let's see, it says healthy primary partition. Properties for it. Disk 1. Nope, nothing. It's completely confused as to what this is. Yeah, clearly Windows does not know of the existence of any file systems besides FAT and NTFS. So that's actually kind of disappointing. And by the way, one thing I want to show you real quick is this turn Windows features on or off. I did actually go ahead and install .NET Framework 3.5 and uninstall Internet Explorer 11. The thing is, this just makes Windows feel like a legacy operating system. A modern operating system really should not need anything like this. And by the way, just to improve compatibility with some Windows applications, I'd actually install this just to help smoothen out application and installation processes, especially with how dated and just crappy the package management system is. Just a pro tip. And by the way, I did also uninstall Internet Explorer, which I don't know why Microsoft still includes this old and outdated browser with Windows that nobody even uses. Like, it's old, it's dated, just rip it out, delete it, especially with Microsoft Edge now coming with Windows. Alright, so I've just opened up the document for my recording in progress sign, which I display on my studio door when I'm recording to let the other people in my house know that I'm doing a recording. And I know this is a very basic word processor, and it does say that it does not support all the features of this document's format, and that some content might be missing or displayed improperly, but this is a major embarrassment to Microsoft, who actually markets to businesses and professionals. By the way, I actually did this in LibreOffice. Like, for reference, here's a screenshot of how this document should look. Like, there should be more of a blank space up here. Like, this should be more off to the left. And this stop sign should be to the right of this, not underneath it. And all this text should be in the Ubuntu font. Windows clearly does not know the Ubuntu font. It did not get a single thing right. Now, granted, if I installed the Ubuntu font, I'm willing to bet that the text would be displayed in its proper font, but it is actually missing the footer, which has my channel name and my channel's custom URL. Alright, now I'm gonna go install these updates, otherwise it'll force me to install them at the most inopportune time possible. Now, that's probably an exaggeration, but still, Windows should not be forcing you to reboot to install an update, especially when you're right in the middle of doing something. Alright, so now I've been using Windows for 4.5, almost 5 hours, and I haven't bothered to look at the task manager yet to see how much the system's using just from sitting idle. So let's do that together. Let's go into more details, and ooh, like, I know I have screen recording running, but still, like, Windows is using a lot of my CPU with its processes, and also 25% of my memory. Let's actually go here. About the same amount of memory, but I'd say at least slightly higher. Yeah, like, it's using a lot of my CPU. Like, look at those resources that I once had free, now are being taken up by Windows. Mind you, I am screen recording right now, so that adds to it. Alright, now let's try out the Spotify app for Windows from the Windows Store, because I cannot live without music. Okay, let's play around with it without signing in. Basically identical to the Linux and Mac apps, except for these 3 dots, which I don't quite get the point of. In fact, it actually does bring back bad memories from a couple years ago when I used Spotify for Windows with these 3 dots going in the middle and just being very annoying. Sometimes I'd intend to click on a song, for example, but then accidentally click on them and then open this menu. Trust me, that was annoying. It was actually kind of a relief using the Spotify app on Linux when these pesky dots no longer existed on my computer. And now that is all a distant memory, up until now. But anyway, there's really nothing much to see here. Alright, let's go add someone else to this PC. It's actually asking for their Microsoft account first. Now, luckily, we can skip this by saying, I don't have this person's sign-in information. Then it wants me to create an account for them, but they do still offer the option to add a user without a Microsoft account, so I'm gonna do that. But still, like, they are, like, heavily pushing their Microsoft accounts. In case you don't remember, at the beginning of this video when I was setting up Windows, it actually forced me to create a Microsoft account since I connected to the internet during the setup process. Alright, let's go encrypt my home folder by right-clicking, going to Properties, Advanced, and Uh-oh. Encrypt constants to secure data is grayed out. Looks like it's not letting me encrypt my home folder. That does kind of make it feel like Microsoft's just living in the past and doesn't care about encryption at all, which makes security conscious people like me turn to Linux to get their file encryption. Just run 1 or 2 commands, maybe from another user, and you're done. Windows, oh god, you just need to get another piece of software. This does make Windows feel outdated, because encryption is now starting to become standard practice, and yet Windows doesn't have any easy way to enable encryption. Alright, so now I'm gonna go get Vmware installed, since that's a piece of software that I rely on to make my videos. Then let's see how this goes. This is actually my first attempt at installing VMware on Windows, so I'm actually eager to see how the installation process is. Okay, let's click next through it. I accept the terms of the license agreement. You know what, I'm just going to keep this as default. Not sure what the advantage of that is. If you do know, please comment how this would benefit you. But anyway, I'm going to hit next. And no, I'm not going to join the CIP. But you know what, I will check for product updates on startup. Don't create a shortcut on my desktop, but you can do it in my start menu. Hit next, install. And I'm going to finish this, and I can close out of Firefox. Let's go find VMware in my start menu, and it's right there. I'm going to get a command prompt for VTCL. I'll have to look at that. But for now, I'm just going to open up VMware Workstation Player 16. I can use this for free. I'm going to skip Pro. First of all, it's actually a very different interface for me. Let's actually go into the preferences. Let's actually download all these components right now. Okay, looks like I got VMware tools installed. So now I'm going to go create a new virtual machine. I'm going to install from a disk image. I'm going to pick my Ubuntu ISO. Hit next. Type in my name, username, then punch in the password. Hit next. I'll just call it Ubuntu. I'll store the virtual disk as a single file. That's what I always do with my virtual machines. And it's going to be 20 gigabytes. Let's go customize my virtual hardware. Processors, network adapter, bridged. Then let's go ahead and configure the USB controller. Close that and finish. Okay, I'll let that go while I go set this virtual machine to always enter full screen mode after powering on. Okay, I guess I have to... I don't know if there's a keyboard shortcut for that. I feel like the UI is slightly better in my opinion. I mean, hey, on Linux it's actually customizable. So that's actually probably better depending on the way you look at it. But overall, this is mainly because of not having a full screen keyboard shortcut. I actually like the Linux version better. And also, by the way, your virtual machines are stored under your Documents folder and Virtual Machines on Windows. On Linux, it's in the VMware folder at the root of your home folder. I'm not quite sure why that is. But anyway, I'll let this go and I'll come right back. Let's get this scaling properly. There we go. Virtualizing with VMware on Windows is basically the same as Linux. Now that I think about it, I actually like the more simplified layout that VMware gives on Linux with just File, Virtual Machines, Help, and then these buttons, and of course the name. Actually, now that I think about it, I actually like the actual theme of VMware on Windows, but not the layout of the top bar. But anyway, I'm gonna go power this off, and I'm just curious. I wonder what operating systems it actually gives me. Same selection as on a Linux host. Before I finish with VMware though, let's try this command prompt. Okay, so it's basically a command line interface for VMware. Now I did notice this video editor, so let's see how that is. Okay, let's start a blank project. Yeah, very basic video editor for Windows. Like, I'm definitely not using this to make YouTube videos, especially after Flowblade, which is like professional grade, especially when compared to this. Alright, let's see how it is to stream YouTube on this. Let's go to my channel. Actually, you know what? Since this video is already playing, let's go to this video. Okay, that animation didn't seem natural. Let's see that again. Exit. I think it's Firefox for Windows, but still, I'm used to like the regular animation where it kind of zooms in. No, it's a bit choppy, but it feels more natural. Anyway, let's actually stream 1080p. So you've finally grown sick and tired of Windows, and you've decided that Macs are too expensive, and you've been thinking of basically same as any other operating system, so nothing interesting to see here. And actually, at this point, I've been using Windows for almost 10 hours now. Like, it's 6:06 p.m. And one thing I actually forgot forgot to mention is the default device name for Windows. I do actually wonder why the default device name in Windows is like these random characters. That's just one Windows quirk I really don't get. So I'm actually going to rename this to, I like to call it Citrusoft Mac, if it'll even let me do that. Oh man, the process of renaming your PC is so slow. Are you kidding me? I have to restart to rename my PC? You know what? No. Now this isn't really a huge issue, it's just kind of a silly quirk, but for comparison's sake, on Ubuntu, the default PC name is based on your username and your computer's make and model. Like, it's more sensible. Alright, so I've been using Windows for almost 12 hours now, and it's almost the end of my day. Like, it's 7:49 p.m. And in conclusion, using this for a day makes me feel like I've been living in a digital alternate reality for almost the past 2 years. In an alternate reality where community is the motive for software developers instead of money. Where you can just open up the Software Center, find an app, click install, and know that you're getting a high quality app. Where freemium apps are basically out the window. There are some paid apps, but for the most part, there are just open source apps and proprietary apps. And those coexist equally. In fact, open source is actually more dominant than proprietary. Like, for example, if you go to the Microsoft Store, it's really hard to find a good quality free app. You may be able to find it on the web, but even then, it's not really guaranteed, and there are also security concerns with it. And also, this does bring back some bad memories of when I was using Windows as my daily driver up to about a couple years ago. If you don't fully understand what I mean by that, you should go check out my 10 reasons why I switched from Windows to Linux video, which I made actually a year ago now. Alright, it is 9:13 p.m. and I've been using Windows for 13 hours. Well, technically that last hour was just getting my footage off my computer to prepare to reinstall Linux. And now I am wiping my drive and reinstalling Linux because I cannot go through with this for more than a day. Like, having to deal with this for a week would be pure torture for me. And by the way, going off topic, you may have noticed the new background is because due to renovations going on here at the house in a nearby room, my main studio is out of commission because I don't want to have to deal with dust flying around, especially with electronics. Plus, it's not really good to breathe it in. So I'm using this room as my temporary studio. Hopefully I'm back to my regular studio by the time the next video is shot. But anyway, if you liked this video, found it interesting, or that it reinforced why you guys love Linux so much, or even convinced you to switch to Linux, or at least think about like how bad Windows is and consider switching to an alternative such as Linux, whatever the case may be, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment.